So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, we are just under a month out from the 2023 NFL Draft. It is prime draft season, and the Detroit Lions are doing their due diligence. They have their combine visits, their pro day visits, and their top 30 visits all in this upcoming month. And today, I just wanted to go over the list of some of the more intriguing guys, some of the more interesting players, and really heavily focus on the top 30 visits that have come through the Allen Park area over the last couple of weeks, and kind of give an update of maybe where the Lions sit at a positional group, maybe where they sit on a certain player, and talk about some of the more intriguing players when it comes to the top 30 visits. So with that being said, let's start off with the quarterbacks. Now, of course, the Detroit Lions, as you can see, have only had one top 30 quarterback visit, and that was Adrian Martinez from Kansas State. I highly doubt that he's going to be a drafted player. Maybe as an undrafted free agent, he's somebody that they really, really like, but I really don't see anything with Adrian Martinez. He has a lot of athletic upside. He is somebody that on paper you'd think would be a really, really good quarterback, but just never really put it together at Nebraska or Kansas State. Now, taking a look at the other quarterbacks, again, I do want to focus heavily on the top 30 visits, but with quarterbacks specifically, I think there's a little bit more merit to it. Anthony Richardson was a combine interview that they had. They said it was very, very good. There was a lot of reports that Anthony Richardson interviewed incredibly well at the NFL Combine and is somebody that the Detroit Lions do very much have on their draft board. And then Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback from Purdue, is somebody that I project very similarly to Jared Goff as potentially a 6th or even 7th round option to come be the primary backup quarterback. I think either Aiden O'Connell or Anthony Richardson are certainly on the board for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, Richardson's going to be an early first-round pick, while Aiden O'Connell is probably going to be a very late day 3 pick if he's drafted at all. But with that being said, I think the quarterback position is pretty intriguing, and I think they're definitely doing their homework on that position particularly. Now, moving on to the running backs, they've interviewed 2 running backs. However, they've only brought one in for a top 30 visit, that being Keaton Mitchell from East Carolina. Now, Keaton Mitchell is a little bit undersized, doesn't really bring a whole lot of power to the table, but is going to be your home run hitter, is going to be somebody that just on any given play can break off a 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown. He has some true elite speed, is very slippery and elusive in the open field, doesn't really get tackled behind the line of scrimmage all that often because he's just so hard to get your hands on, and is somebody that I think the Detroit Lions could again look for in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round. A running back that isn't very highly hyped up, isn't somebody that has a whole lot of excitement coming into the draft, but somebody that couldn't be just a really good underrated player that's going to come in, be your running back 3, be your running back 4, and just kind of be that change of pace receiving back, that home run hitter, right? That 1st and 10 on a drive. If you really need a big play, you throw him in there, and I think he can be a pretty good player at that. I think he's somebody the Lions certainly have their eye on for big playability. They haven't done a whole lot with the wide receivers or the tight ends. They've done some combine interviews, and I believe maybe did a pro day, with Ronnie Bell at Michigan, but they haven't really done a whole lot of homework on the receivers in this draft. I think that's partially due to the fact that they don't really feel like they need one. I think the Lions wide receiving core is pretty good. I think the fact that they haven't interviewed anybody should maybe tell you that they might look to get a free agency deal done before the draft. But I think the same thing goes for tight end. They have their tight ends. They have the guys that they like. They're doing their due diligence, but I don't see a tight end coming off the board. Now, they have interviewed one tackle, that being Darnell Wright, a projected 1st-round pick, but somebody that could potentially fall to the early 2nd round. I think he's certainly on the board, kind of has that nasty mentality that the Detroit Lions really like in their tackles. So I think that is a really interesting one. And then Steven Avila, The guard from TCU is another player that is projected to go either very late first or very early on day two. Somebody that I think is arguably the best pass protecting guard in this class and is not lacking power at all. Somebody that could slide in and be a long-term replacement for Big V. Somebody that could slide in and be the long-term solution at that right guard position, as that is really the only offensive line position currently up in the air. And with Big V's contract running out and with Jonah Jackson's contract running out, I think there's a good option that the Detroit Lions could address the offensive line and specifically the interior of the offensive line pretty early or even at some point in this draft class. Now, the same thing can be said for Antonio Mafi, the guard from UCLA, and Chandler Zavala, the guard from NC State. Both of them have been on top 30 visits or are scheduled for top 30 visits by the Detroit Lions. And I think both of them are going to be pretty high picks. I believe Antonio Mafi is projected to go somewhere early on day 3, while Chandler Zavala is projected to go late day 2 or early day 3 from NC State. I think any of those three could slide in and be your long-term solution. I think that Steven Avila is probably going to be the more immediate playmaker, probably be the guy that's more ready to start on day 1, whereas Antonio Mafi and Chandler Zavala probably can sit for a year and do them some good under the Detroit Lions' fantastic offensive line coaching staff. But again, I think any one of them is certainly on the draft boards for the Detroit Lions. Carl Brooks from Bowling Green, the defensive lineman, has also come in for a top 30 visit. Honestly, don't know a whole lot about Carl Brooks. I know he was fairly productive at a non-Power 5 group of 5 school, somebody that just kind of thrived at a lower level of competition. But of course, that being said, that lower level of competition is why he's not being very hyped up, is not being very projected in the NFL draft early, is because he did play at a small school, and there are concerns with that with every prospect. Jalen Carter, I think, is the biggest name from the top 30 visits. Of course, potentially the number 1 overall pick just about a month ago. Somebody that was really good, and I think the Detroit Lions are going to draft him if he's available at the 6th overall pick. There's a lot of people that believe that they should be out on Jalen Carter. I personally don't believe that to be the case, but we will have to wait and see on that one. A couple other notable names. Noah Sewell was interviewed at the NFL Combine, while Trenton Simpson was interviewed at the NFL Combine as well. 2 players and 2 linebackers that I think really could be on the Detroit Lions radar. Of course, the Sewell connection with Penei Sewell being on the Lions roster already. There's been that connection really since Penei Sewell was drafted 2 seasons ago. And then I think Trenton Simpson is, or at least has the case to be the best linebacker prospect in this class. He's long, he's rangy, he's athletic, he's instinctual, he's a playmaker, and I think could very much be on the Detroit Lions day 2 watch list. And then DeMarvion Overshow, one of the linebackers that I am personally a big fan of, was also interviewed by Lions linebackers coach Kelvin Shepard at his pro day. They kind of went out of their way, scheduled time with DeMarvion Overshown. I think despite the health concerns with Overshown, I think he's a very good player, has some experience at defensive back and linebacker, so he's got some versatility and some really good coverage ability, is super long, and I think could be the perfect fit for what the Detroit Lions want in a coverage linebacker. I think the fact that Kelvin Shepard specifically went to interview him at the pro day says a lot about where they may be at with the Texas product. And then the last real big name from this, and I believe is going to be coming in on a top 30 visit, but may not officially be scheduled yet, is Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback from Mississippi State. Potentially a first-round cornerback for the Bulldogs, but has some size concerns, has some weight concerns. But other than that, is a really good cornerback, was great in man coverage all year at Mississippi State, led the country, and I believe set a school and maybe even NCAA record with number of pick sixes in his career. He is somebody that finds the football and finds the end zone consistently. He is a playmaker. He has good ball skills, has good man coverage ability, has good instincts, is not afraid to tackle despite his size concerns and despite his weight concerns. So that is another player to really keep an eye on. And those are really the big top 30 visits as of right now. The Detroit Lions, of course, do have some more time, but they've interviewed a lot of people. I think obviously your big names of Anthony Richardson, Quentin Johnston. I think Sam Laporte is a good name to watch. I think, again, Steven Avila or Chandler Zavala is a really good name to watch. This defensive lineman from Northwestern, whose name I will not attempt to pronounce until he is, or if he becomes a Detroit Lion, is, I think, a very interesting prospect for day 2. Jalen Carter was coming in for an interview. Trent Simpson, they're going hard at linebackers. They're going hard at the quarterback and the secondary. I think they're going to put a lot of work into the defense in this draft based off of who the top 30 visits have been. But with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what players you want to see the Lions not only bring in for a top 30 visit, but what player do you want to see the Detroit Lions draft? It could be first round, it could be 7th round, whatever player you want to see the Detroit Lions bring in. Let me know down in the comments below. And if you're enjoying the Detroit Lions content, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video down below. Helps me out as a YouTube channel, and of course, it helps you get some more Detroit Lions content. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.